Hey guys, welcome back to another video. We're gonna continue this build. Okay, so next up, some of you may have seen that I did not have this cup plug installed yet. It was because I didn't actually have any on hand yet. So I'm going to install that next. Just gonna put a little bit of blue Loctite on here and tap that in. You can actually see a little lip in there. It'll seat against that. So we'll do that. After that's on, we're going to go ahead and install our timing chain cover with a new gasket and a new seal for around the balancer. I will also put the balancer on, install it fully before I completely tighten down all these perimeter bolts around the timing cover. That way it'll just center around this snout seal, so to speak. Center the cover nicely on that, just so make sure there's no leaks on there. It usually doesn't move a whole lot anyway. All right, and just like that, our cup plug is in. Okay, so I got the cover on, just kind of loosely fitted. As you can see, we got some play there. I also have the balancer prepped, ready to go. I just hit the surface with a little bit of emery cloth and put a little oil on it, so we're good there. And we are not going to beat that thing into there with a hammer. We will use my little homemade press here, which is basically just threaded rod with some nuts and some washers. We're going to install this balancer on the crank. We're going to slip this through the balancer and into the crank, thread it in, and we're going to use this nut here to drive that balancer home. Okay, with the balancer installed, we are lined up with our seal, but the last thing you're going to want to look at, I guess, before we torque this down is you do have a little side-to-side play from here to here, so it'll teeter on the balancer like that. So what you just want to do at that point, you just want to center it on this side and this side as you snug up the top two bolts here. And then once you got it centered, snug those up, then you can run her tight. And later on we'll put some RTB gasket maker in these corners. All right, done deal. Just like that, they are all torqued down to 18 foot-pounds. So now I'm going to flip this guy over. We're going to clean up the head surfaces, just get rid of the oil on there, make sure they're nice, clean, and dry, and then we're going to install the head gaskets and get the cylinder heads coming on. All right, so we got it flipped over. I got the surfaces cleaned up with any oil that might have been on there, so that's all good now. And we got our head studs, except for the small ones, all installed. These are hand tight. I actually just used my little DeWalt impact because it doesn't have any power at all, so I just zipped them all down with that. I didn't do any ugga-duggas, you know, just your usual and done. All right, so we're not torquing those down. And the head gaskets that we're going with, this is the part number for it, 126222033. It's a 6, according to this, it's a 6062 gasket, but we're going to be putting this on the 5.3. I've used these before, zero issues. All right, so with the gaskets, there's no real prep that I do. It's basically, this is a multi-layer gasket. This is actually a 7-layer. I basically make sure that there is nothing stuck in between the layers, because obviously that's going to screw with you a little bit. So I just make sure to blow them out, make sure there's nothing between the layers, make sure both sides are nice and clean, and then we'll put them on. All right, so these are the cylinder heads that are going on it. They are the 706 heads. These are fresh from the machine shop. They're ready to rip. He used an ultrasonic cleaner. Didn't quite get all of it off the chambers, but you know what? That's okay. As soon as this thing ignites for the first time, guess what? That's back right away anyway. He went ahead and put a 2-inch valve in here. I should double check, but I'm pretty sure it was a 2-inch valve. It's from the newer, like 243, 799 style head. Same size intake valve. So he's got that in there. Performance valve job. These are good to go. Valve springs are from BTR. We're about 155 pounds on the seat. So yeah, basically I'm going to take them out of the package. I'm going to give them a nice blow through, and we're going to set them on and install them. All right, so I got the head slipped on here now. One thing to note, when you're installing your washers and such, you want to make sure that the head surface here is dry. You don't want any lube or anything going on the bottom there. What you want to do, you want to make sure your washer is also dry, and then whichever side is facing up to your nut. So this side, let's say, that's where you want some lube on, and then on your threads. and then you can install it that way. You want the bottom of the washer to the cylinder head surface, you want that to be dry. Alright, so we got the cylinder heads all torqued down. So these were the ARP head studs, and they are torqued down to 70 foot-pounds as the final, 25 pounds for first pass, 50 pounds on the second pass, and then 70 pounds on the third pass. And then the small ARP bolts up top are 28 pounds after these are all the way torqued down. So now we're going to install our valley cover. We got our new gasket on, and we'll put some new grommets on. We'll clean this up, and then we'll set her down and torque this to all these bolts to 18 foot-pounds. All right, here's some more progress for you. We got the valley cover torqued down to 18 foot-pounds. We got our knock sensors installed. Probably not going to use them, but we're going to put them in here anyway. We got the harness on. We put the cam sensor in. Put the oil pressure sensor on. What else we do? We taped up the exhaust ports and the intake ports so nothing can fall in. We got the cooling crossover all the way on. New gaskets on all four corners. They're actually more like an O-ring, but whatever. So yeah, no, it's looking good. Going to go ahead and install our push rods and our rocker arms now. And we're going to torque those rocker arms down. And then I guess valve covers, and we'll keep trucking. Okay, so I just did a push rod length check here just to see where we're at. This is a 7/400 rod. So what I did is I put it in there, made sure the cam is at on the base circle for the intake valve here, and then I set it to 0 lash. And once I had it 0 lash, I put my dial indicator on it, zeroed it out. Well, actually I didn't zero it out. In this case, it was actually 0 lash, about 90 thou. And then I went ahead and I wrenched that down until she was snugged, bottomed out. And this lifter was actually pumped up a little bit, so I had to wait a bit, and I was actually able to just watch it slowly seep around while the valve spring pressure slowly overpowered the fluid that was in the lifter. But the end result here, I am sitting at about, it was at about 90, just a touch under, so like 88, somewhere in there. And then as it went around, it stopped about here. So we're, I don't know, 85 thousandths or so preload. And I don't know, from everything, like usually I don't run that much preload, like on a small block Chevy or big block Chevy. I usually don't run that much. I usually run like 50, somewhere in there. But apparently in the LS world, like if you watch some guys online, Richard Holdner, these guys, they seem to think that the LS likes a little bit more preload. So we're going to say this is good at about 85 thou preload, and we're going to see what it does. I actually seen some videos where guys were actually running more than that and it picked up power. So I don't know. Guess we're going to find out. Let's see how it runs. And just like that, with some movie magic, the rocker arms are torqued down. They will sit at 22 foot-pounds across the board. So what I did is I torqued them all down, then I spun the engine over a few times, and then torqued them down again. All right, a little bit more progress again. Valve covers are cleaned up and put back on. I got the back cover put on. That's a little tricky when you got it on an engine stand. What I do is I actually just took this bottom corner off. I loosened this bolt off and I took this bolt out, where, as you would expect, the engine drops a little bit, right? Because you took a pressure point off. And I swing this out of the way, and then that gives me room so I can put that dumbbell in the back of the block in that oil galley. And then I can put this bag up, bolt it back up, secure the engine once more, and then I can slip this plate underneath. Excuse me. And then I'll start the bottom 2 bolts. And there's always that plastic hub that's in your new seal that you put in. So once I got it lined up with the bottom 2 bolts, and I just kind of center it and I give it a quick pop, and then the rear main seal will slip right over top of the crankshaft. And once you're at that point, you just put all your bolts in, snug it up, make sure you kind of center it, the bottom of your pan rail, so to speak, down here on either side. And that's also torqued down to 18 foot-pounds. All right, so I got it flipped over. We're gonna go ahead and install the oil pan now. Got the oil pan all cleaned up, ready to go. So what we're gonna do, these 4 corners, the 2 in the front, the 2 in the rear, we're gonna put some silicone in these corners. I don't want so much that it's gonna wanna goop over and into the engine. I'm gonna try to favor this outside edge and around here. Same way around all 4 corners. Then we'll lay our gasket on top of that, and then our oil pan on top of that, and we'll torque those bolts down to 18 foot-pounds, except for the 2 long skinny bolts that go into the rear cover here. Those are only 106 inch-pounds. All right, there she be. Oil pan is on. Now I just got some odds and ends to do. We got an oil cap, dipstick tube, got to get the flex plate on. We're gonna Loctite those bolts in, but we'll do that once I got this thing off. Pick it up with a cherry picker, and we can torque that down at that point in time. I won't worry about that right now, but yeah, there she is. So now I have a lot of mess to clean up in my garage once again. It builds up so fast, like, you know, there might be a workbench under here somewhere. Pretty sweet add-on to the garage. But yeah, I got messes everywhere. So we're gonna close this video off. We're done with this. Next up, probably be a Turbo 400 build or a small block Chevy 383 build. We'll see which one I tackle next. Maybe I'll just kind of flip back and forth between the 2. I don't know. But this build, guys, is gonna be really cool. So really hope I can get some more footage of this year. But it's going into an 88 Chevy half-ton single cab short box deal, and yeah, it's a pretty sweet truck. It's got a turbo on it. He's changing turbo sizes here. I don't know exactly for sure what size this turbo is right now, but it's an upgrade from the last one, plus now with the billet, so that'll be pretty fun. I don't know what those trucks weigh. 4,000 pounds? I don't know, something like that. But with this 5.3, he's hoping to go deep into the 6s in the 8th mile. Dare I say 640s? We'll see. 4,000 pounds, 640s with a 5.3, stock rods, stock crank. I don't know, I guess we'll see. It does have a Turbo 400 that I built him a while back, and a trans brake and whatnot. He's also got a Holley Dominator set up. So he's got good parts. But, you know, it's a small motor for a heavy truck, so I'm looking forward to seeing this whole thing done. I'm going to go ahead and say, by the time you see this video, this sucker is probably long running, because I'm very slow at editing videos these days. So I'll try to get some footage of that truck running, see how quick we can actually get it to go, see if we can actually get it down deep into the 6s. But, you know, stay tuned and let's find out. We'll see what we can do. Well, for now, thanks a lot for watching. Stay tuned for the next one.